The blade missed Toji's throat by half an inch. He felt the wind of it, that whisper of death that came with every swing of the split-soul katana. The air itself seemed to scream as the weapon passed through the space where his neck had been a microsecond earlier. Maki Zenin wasn't holding back. Good. He'd taught her not to. Wait, he hadn't taught her anything. They'd never met. He'd watched from the shadows for 16 years but never spoken a word, never interfered, never let her know he existed. So why did fighting her feel like coming home? Toji twisted, his body moving on pure instinct honed by decades of killing. His fist crashed toward her solar plexus, a killing blow that would rupture her organs and drop her in seconds. But his fist hit empty air. Maki was already gone, already repositioned, already swinging again. The katana carved through the space where his ribs had been, drawing a thin line of blood across his side. "That's 3, she said. "I'm counting 4, Toji replied, grinning through the pain. They stood in the ruins of what used to be Tokyo Metropolitan Gymnasium. The building had been condemned after the Shibuya incident, left to rot while the government figured out what to do with the cursed energy still seeping from its foundation. It was the perfect place for this. No civilians, no witnesses, no one to interrupt what needed to happen. Around them, the corpses of 30 Grade 1 curses lay scattered like broken toys. Special grades would have been called in to handle this infestation. An entire team would have been assembled, strategies discussed, contingencies planned. Maki had killed 15 in 30 minutes. Toji had killed 15 in 28. They'd been competing, seeing who was faster, who was stronger, who had truly earned the title of the strongest without cursed energy. Now they were trying to kill each other. Toji moved first this time, not fast, faster. The kind of speed that shouldn't exist without cursed energy reinforcement, but did anyway, because heavenly restriction didn't give a shit about shouldn't. His body was a weapon forged by absence, by the universe looking at where cursed energy should be and finding nothing, then overcompensating by making the physical form beyond human limits. His kick came from an angle that defied geometry, aimed at Maki's temple. She blocked with her forearm, but the impact sent her sliding back 15 feet, her shoes carving trenches in the concrete. "You know what's funny?" Toji said, walking toward her with that predator's gait he'd perfected over decades. "I spent 16 years wondering if you'd actually pull it off, if you'd actually become what I was." "Past tense?" Maki rolled her shoulder, testing for damage. "Nothing broken, yet. I'm better than what you were, old man." "Yeah." Toji's grin widened into something feral. "You are. That's the problem." He closed the distance in a blink. Not literally, they couldn't teleport, couldn't manipulate space like Gojo. But they could move so fast it might as well be the same thing. 20 meters crossed in under a second, his elbow driving toward her face with enough force to shatter concrete. She caught it. Not blocked, caught. Her fingers wrapped around his arm, and for a moment, just a heartbeat. They both felt it. That recognition. That resonance. 2 voids touching. 2 absences meeting in a universe of presence. "I killed my sister to become this," Maki said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were screaming. Every word cost her something. "I burned away everything I used to be. Every weakness, every attachment, every part of me that was human. So don't you dare look at me like I'm your fucking legacy." Toji's grin vanished. "Mai," he said quietly. "Her name was Mai. And you didn't kill her, kid. She killed herself, gave you everything she had. Everything she could have been, because she loved you more than she loved living." Maki's grip tightened. Her knuckles went white. "How the hell would you know?" "Because I was there." Toji wrenched his arm free with a movement that should have dislocated his shoulder but didn't. They were beyond normal physical limitations, beyond what biology said was possible. In the shadows, watching, making sure that if you survived what you were becoming, someone would be there who understood. I don't need understanding. I needed a teacher 16 years ago. Maki's voice cracked, just slightly. Just enough to let the pain bleed through. I needed someone to tell me that being nothing didn't mean being worthless, that having zero cursed energy didn't make me garbage. You had Gojo. Gojo can't teach what we are. The words came out harsh, raw, torn from somewhere deep. Gojo's got infinity between him and the world. He's never felt what it's like to be looked at like you're less than human. We've got nothing. We are nothing, and you... She pointed her blade at him, and the tip didn't waver. You could have shown me how to be nothing and still matter. The gymnasium fell silent except for the sound of their breathing. Two people who didn't need air quite as much as normal humans, but who still had to maintain the illusion of being alive. Toji looked at this young woman, 22 years old, burns covering half her face from when the Zenin clan tried to kill her, hair cut short and practical, eyes that had watched her twin sister die, had felt that connection sever, had used that death as fuel to transcend human limitations. She was everything he'd been at her age, and more. Everything he could have become if he'd had a reason beyond spite. You want to know why I stayed dead? Toji asked. Enlighten me. Because they told me if I lived, if I interfered, I'd fuck up your story. He pulled out a cigarette from his jacket, lit it, took a drag even though his enhanced body metabolized nicotine before it could affect him. Old habits. The Void Assembly, the ones who brought me back, said you needed to walk your own path, make your own mistakes, become your own version of this curse we carry. The Void Assembly. Maki's expression shifted. Recognition. The researchers who study heavenly restriction. More than study. They created it. Or at least, they figured out how to replicate it artificially. How to remove cursed energy from a living person and force their body to compensate. Toji took another drag. They're the reason people like us exist in the first place. And they wanted to see what happened when someone with natural heavenly restriction was pushed to their absolute limit without interference. So I was an experiment. We're all experiments, kid. The difference is some of us know it. He flicked ash onto the ground. They told me if I showed up too early, you'd just become my shadow. Another Toji. Another bitter asshole who kills because he's got nothing else. So I watched. I waited. And I let you become something better. Better? Maki's laugh was sharp, bitter. I killed special grade curses that teams of sorcerers couldn't touch. I walked into the Zenin compound and butchered my way through everyone there. I became exactly what they said was impossible. How is that better? Because you did it for a reason. Toji's expression went serious. I killed because I hated sorcerers. Hated them for having what I didn't. Hated them for looking down on me. Every contract I took, every sorcerer I murdered, it was just me screaming at a universe that made me empty. He looked at her directly now. But you? You fight to protect people. You became strong, so your sister's sacrifice wouldn't be wasted. So Yuta and Panda and that salmon kid would have someone watching their backs. That's the difference between us. Don't act like you know me. I know you better than you think. Toji dropped the cigarette, crushed it under his heel. Because I watched you for 16 years. Watched you train until your hands bled. Watched you take beatings from the clan and get back up. Watched you nearly die against Naoya and come back stronger. And the whole time, I saw someone who refused to let the world define her worth. Maki's blade lowered slightly. Just an inch. Then why are you here now? Why reveal yourself? Why fight me? Toji opened his mouth to answer. The sky exploded. Not metaphorically. Not with cursed energy or technique. The actual sky above them tore open like fabric being ripped by invisible hands. Reality itself screamed as dimensions collided, as something massive forced its way through the barrier between worlds. Through that tear, something fell. Something that made both Toji and Maki's instincts honed by a lifetime of having zero cursed energy and learning to sense danger through pure void awareness, scream in primal terror. It landed between them with enough force to crater the gymnasium floor 50 feet deep. The impact sent shockwaves rippling through Tokyo, setting off car alarms for miles, cracking windows in buildings that were supposed to be earthquake-proof. When the dust cleared, they saw it. 30 feet tall, humanoid in shape but wrong in every way that mattered. Its body looked like someone had taken the concept of absence and forged it into armor, like they'd crystallized the idea of nothing and given it form. Where it stood, cursed energy didn't just disappear, it recoiled, fled, ceased to exist in its presence. The creature had no face, no eyes, no mouth. Just a smooth surface that somehow conveyed sight and speech and malevolent intelligence. "What?" Maki whispered. "The actual fuck is that?" The creature's head turned toward her, slowly, deliberately, and when it spoke, every person in Tokyo heard it in their bones, felt it in their teeth, understood it in some primal part of their brain that remembered when humans were prey. Zenin Maki, Fushiguro Toji, incomplete specimens of heavenly restriction. The voice wasn't sound. It was the absence of sound. The space where noise should exist but didn't. I am Mugen. The first, the prototype, the original void. And I have come to reclaim what was stolen. Toji and Maki looked at each other. For the first time since their fight began, they were on the same side. "You know what this is?" Maki asked. "Unfortunately," Toji said, pulling the inverted spear of heaven from the cursed spirit he kept as living storage. "Yeah, and it's so much worse than you think." Mugen raised one massive arm. The ground beneath them didn't crack or shatter, it simply ceased to exist. A perfect sphere of nothing opened up where concrete and rebar and foundation had been. 50 feet deep, perfectly smooth edges, as if that chunk of reality had decided to take a permanent vacation. They moved on instinct. Toji left, Maki right, both of them understanding without words that staying still meant death. Where they'd been standing, that sphere of nothing expanded, consuming matter without sound or struggle. "Okay," Maki said, landing in a crouch 20 meters away. "New plan. We kill this thing first, then we finish our fight. Deal?" Toji agreed, already calculating angles and weaknesses and the 1,000 tiny details that separated living through a fight from dying in one. "But we need to understand what we're dealing with." "Understanding is irrelevant," Mugen said. "You are merely components, raw material for my evolution. 16 years ago I was sealed before I could complete my purpose. But you, Zenin Maki, who killed her twin, Fushiguro Toji, who died and returned, you have pushed heavenly restriction to its natural limits, and now I will consume you. Absorb your experiences, your pain, your evolution, and become perfect." "It wants to eat us," Maki said flatly. "Yeah, I caught that." Toji was already moving, circling, looking for openings, looking for weaknesses, which means it needs us intact, which means we have leverage. Maki mirrored his movement, both of them instinctively coordinating without discussion. This was what happened when two people thought the same way, fought the same way, existed the same way. It can't just erase us, it needs us whole. Clever, but irrelevant. I do not need you willing, I only need you functional. Mugen moved, not fast instantly. One moment it was 30 meters away, the next it was in front of Maki, its arm already swinging down like a hammer made of compressed void. She got her blade up in time to block. The split soul katana, forged specifically to cut what couldn't be cut, met Mugen's arm. The sound was like a cathedral bell being struck by lightning. The shockwave flattened everything within 100 meters. The impact drove Maki's feet through the concrete, buried her up to her knees. And her blade didn't cut, didn't even scratch, just bounced off with enough force to numb her arms. Shit. She backflipped out of the crater her body had made. Landed badly. Rolled. Mugen's other arm was already coming down where she'd been, creating another sphere of nothing in the gymnasium floor. On the opposite side, Toji had gone high, used the destroyed building's skeleton as a springboard to launch himself toward Mugen's head. The inverted spear of heaven, a weapon specifically designed to nullify cursed techniques, to cut through any jujutsu, stabbed toward what looked like where the creature's brain should be. The spear passed through nothing but air. Mugen's head phased, became intangible, let the weapon pass through like it was stabbing smoke. That's bullshit. Toji twisted in midair, narrowly avoiding a backhand that would have splattered him across 3 city blocks. He landed on what was left of the gymnasium's roof, already thinking, already calculating. Your weapons are designed to kill cursed energy, Mugen said. I am not cursed energy. I am its antithesis. I am what happens when the universe forgets how to care about someone. Maki landed near Toji, both of them breathing hard, both of them bleeding from a dozen small cuts, both of them realizing they were in serious trouble. It can phase through physical attacks, Maki said. And our weapons don't work. What's the play? Toji's brain was working overtime. The same brain that had calculated how to kill Gojo Satoshi, the supposedly unkillable sorcerer with infinity. The same tactical genius that had taken him from nothing to the most feared assassin in the jujutsu world. It's not fully cursed energy and not fully physical, he said. It exists in the space between. That's why our weapons don't work. They're designed for one or the other, not both. So how do we kill something that's neither? We don't. Toji's expression shifted. That look he got when he'd figured out the angle, the trick, the impossible solution. We make it choose. It can phase or it can attack, but it can't do both simultaneously. When it swung at you, it was solid. When I stabbed it, it was intangible. It's switching between states, so we force it to commit. Maki understood immediately. Same tactical mind, different person. We make it go solid to attack, then hit it while it can't phase. Exactly. But there's a problem. Toji pointed at her blade. That didn't work. Your split soul katana should cut anything that has a soul, whether cursed energy is involved or not. But it bounced right off. Because it doesn't have a soul, Maki realized. Or it has something else. Something we don't understand. You begin to comprehend, Mugen said. It hadn't moved while they talked, just stood there watching them like a scientist observing lab rats. I am not alive. I was never born. I am a concept given form. The accumulated resentment of 2,000 years of powerlessness. Toji's eyes widened. Oh no. What? Maki looked at him. What does that mean? It means, Toji said slowly, that it's a cursed spirit. But not the normal kind. Not born from fear or hatred of natural phenomena. It's born from something specific. Something that took 2,000 years to build up enough resentment to manifest. What? Us. Toji's voice was grim. Every person in history who had heavenly restriction. Every person who lived without cursed energy in a world of sorcerers. Every time they were beaten, mocked, called worthless, told they were nothing, all of that resentment accumulated, and eventually it formed this. Maki stared at Mugen with new understanding, with horror. It's the curse of being us. Precisely. I am what happens when emptiness becomes sentient, when absence gains awareness. I am the void that knows it is void. Mugen raised both arms now. The air around them began to distort. reality itself straining under the weight of what was happening. And now, I will show you true emptiness. The attack came from everywhere at once. Not physical strikes, not cursed techniques, just removal. Sections of the gymnasium simply stopped existing. The air, the ground, the steel beams, the concrete, all of it erased in perfect spheres that spread out from Mugen like ripples in water. Toji and Maki ran, jumped, dodged, used every ounce of their enhanced physical abilities to stay ahead of the expanding spheres of nothing. Behind them, the gymnasium collapsed into itself, folding inward as its structural supports ceased to exist. They made it outside, into the parking lot, and the erasure stopped. Mugen stepped through the hole where the building's wall used to be, unhurried, inevitable. You cannot run. You cannot hide. I exist specifically to erase beings like you. You are my prey, my purpose, my reason for existing. Okay, Maki panted. I'm officially out of ideas. You? Toji was thinking, fast, desperate. They couldn't hurt it with conventional weapons. They couldn't escape. And any moment now, Mugen would erase them from existence. Unless... I've got a plan, he said. It's insane. It's probably suicide. But it's the only thing I can think of. I'm listening. Heavenly restriction works by trading cursed energy for physical ability, right? Zero cursed energy means maximum physical capability. That's the fundamental principle. Yeah, I know how my own body works. But there's a limit to what the human body can achieve, even enhanced. We can't phase through matter. We can't teleport. We can't nullify physical laws. We're just peak human, pushed beyond logical conclusion. Toji pulled something from his pocket, something wrapped in cursed energy suppression seals. But what if we temporarily had cursed energy? What would happen? Maki's eyes widened as she saw what he was holding. Is that one of Sukuna's fingers? Toji unwrapped the seals carefully. The finger pulsed with malevolent energy, with power that made the air around it shimmer and distort. I stole it from Gojo's storage 6 months ago. Been saving it for an emergency. You wanna eat it? Maki stared at him. Are you fucking insane? We have zero cursed energy. If you eat that, Sukuna will take over your body instantly. Or worse, your body will reject it and you'll die. Exactly. Toji held the finger up to the moonlight. It seemed to pulse in rhythm with some distant heartbeat. Sukuna will try to take over my body. A body with zero cursed energy. A body that's fundamentally incompatible with cursed spirits. It'll be like trying to install software on hardware that doesn't support it. That will kill you, probably, definitely. Maybe. Toji looked at Mugen, who was slowly approaching, savoring their fear. But here's the thing. For maybe 10, 20 seconds before I die, before my body completely rejects Sukuna's cursed energy, I'll be radiating the King of Curses' power. And Mugen is specifically designed to attack cursed energy, Maki finished. Understanding dawned. It won't be able to help itself. It'll commit fully to killing you. And while it's solid, while it's completely physical to deliver the final blow to cursed energy, Toji pulled out another object, a blade she'd never seen before. Short, almost a dagger, but the metal looked wrong. It seemed to absorb light, to create a dark spot in reality where it existed. What is that? The Void Assembly calls it Kukyo. Emptiness. It's the only weapon they ever successfully forged from heavenly restriction itself. He pressed it into her hands. It can cut things that don't exist. That's impossible. We're impossible. This whole situation is impossible. But it worked on their test subjects. His expression went serious. When Mugen commits to killing me, when it goes fully solid to erase the cursed energy from my body, you stab it with this, right in the center of its chest. where a curse's core would be. Toji, this is suicide. Yeah, he was already raising the finger to his mouth. But I've been dead for 16 years anyway. Might as well make it count. Wait. Maki grabbed his wrist. You don't have to do this. We can find another way. We can. There is no other way. His voice was gentle now, almost kind. You know that. I know that. This thing is going to keep getting stronger, keep adapting, until it erases every sorcerer in the world. And then it'll come for us anyway. This is the only shot we've got. But listen to me. Toji met her eyes, really looked at her. I was a shit father. Abandoned my son for gambling money. Killed people for cash because I was too bitter and broken to find another way. I've done terrible things, Maki. Things that can't be forgiven. But this? He smiled. This is the first good thing I've done in my entire miserable life. Let me have it. Toji. Tell Megumi, he interrupted, that his old man died doing something that wasn't completely selfish for once. Tell him. He paused. Actually, don't tell him anything. Kid's better off not knowing I existed. You're an idiot, Maki said. Her voice was rough, thick with something she refused to acknowledge as tears. Yeah, but I'm your kind of idiot. He pulled his wrist free. 16 years I waited to meet you, Maki Zenin, to see what you'd become. And you know what? You're fucking magnificent. You're everything the Zenin clan said was impossible. You're everything I wish I'd been. You're proof that being nothing doesn't mean being worthless. He smiled, genuine this time. No sarcasm, no bitterness, just peace. Now, let's kill a god. And Ryomen Sukuna's finger disappeared past Toji Fushiguro's lips. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. The parking lot was silent. Maki stood there with the blade Kukyo in her hands, watching Toji's face for any sign of change. Mugen had stopped approaching, head tilted in what might have been curiosity. Then Toji's body began to scream, not vocally, cellularly, at a level so fundamental it made reality itself recoil. His heavenly restriction body, built specifically to exist without cursed energy, to reject any trace of it from his system, came into direct contact with the most concentrated cursed energy in history. It was like mixing matter and antimatter, like forcing 2 opposing magnetic poles together, like making light and darkness occupy the same space. The reaction was immediate and catastrophic. Black markings spread across Toji's skin, Sukuna's distinctive tattoos, trying to manifest, trying to claim this body as the king of curses had claimed so many others. But they were wrong. Broken. Flickering like a television with bad reception, because the body they were trying to possess fundamentally, completely, absolutely could not support cursed energy. Blood poured from Toji's eyes, his nose, his ears, his pores. Every cell in his body was simultaneously trying to accommodate the cursed energy and expel it, creating a feedback loop that was tearing him apart from the inside. He collapsed to his knees, convulsing, and through his gritted teeth came a sound that might have been laughter or might have been agony or might have been both, and Mugen felt it. Cursed energy. The creature's voice actually sounded surprised, shocked, as if the universe had just violated its fundamental laws. Impossible. You are heavenly restriction. You cannot possess cursed energy. It would kill you. But Toji was standing now, slowly, painfully. Every movement looked like it cost him years of his life, and cursed energy was radiating off him in waves. Unstable, fluctuating, tearing him apart from the inside, but present, real, undeniable. The king of curses' power, fighting for dominance against a body that treated cursed energy like poison. And Mugen couldn't resist. Its entire existence was built around one singular purpose, one unbreakable directive coded into the very concept of its being. Destroy cursed energy. Here was cursed energy of the highest possible grade, the king of curses himself, right in front of it, vulnerable, dying. Mugen moved with speed it hadn't shown before. Forgot about Maki entirely. Forgot about strategy or caution or patience, because this was what it was made for. This moment, this purpose. Its arm became solid, became real, became an executioner's blade made from compressed absence, and it stabbed toward Toji's heart. Time seemed to slow. Maki saw it all in perfect clarity. Toji's body, convulsing with the effort of containing Sukuna's cursed energy for just a few more seconds. Mugen, fully committed, fully physical, driving its arm toward his chest with enough force to punch through steel. This was the moment. The only moment they'd get. She moved. 20 years of training. 10 years of being called worthless. 5 years of proving everyone wrong. 1 year of carrying the weight of her sister's sacrifice. All of it condensed into this single movement. Kukyo the blade, forged from emptiness itself, flashed through the air. It cut through Mugen's chest like the creature was made of paper. No, not like paper, like nothing. Because that's what Kukyo was designed to cut, not flesh or bone or cursed energy. The concept of void itself. Mugen froze. Its arm stopped inches from Toji's chest. For a moment, nothing happened. The parking lot was silent, except for Toji's ragged breathing, except for the sound of Sukuna's cursed energy finally being expelled from his system in one violent surge. Then, slowly, cracks began to spread across Mugen's body. Not physical cracks, reality cracks. The seams where its existence was held together, where the concept of void had been forced into physical form, starting to split apart. Impossible, it said. But its voice was quieter now, fading, like a radio station losing signal. You cut. Absence itself. How? Because, Maki said, and her voice was steady despite everything. Despite the fear and the exhaustion and the knowledge that she was talking to the physical manifestation of 2,000 years of suffering. We're not like you. Your hatred given form. Your resentment and rage, and the curse of being powerless. But me? She looked at Toji, who had collapsed onto his hands and knees, blood pooling beneath him. Cursed energy finally purged from his system, but the damage already done. I'm not fighting because I hate sorcerers. I'm not fighting because I want to prove anything to anyone. I'm fighting because I refuse to be defined by what I'm not. She pulled Kukyo free from Mugen's chest. I'm not cursed. I'm free. The cracks spread faster now, consuming Mugen's form. Light, not cursed energy, just light, began to leak through the gaps. Free, it repeated. Its voice was almost gentle now, almost peaceful. Yes, perhaps that is what I wanted, all along. Not to destroy, but to be free of the hatred. To exist without purpose, without resentment. Maybe, Maki said quietly, but you can't. You're the curse itself. You can't exist without the hate that created you. Then, let me give you one thing before I fade. Mugen raised its other arm, not to attack, to point at something in the distance, something Maki couldn't see but somehow understood was important. The Void Assembly. They did not save Toji. Out of kindness, they have a purpose, a plan. For all who carry heavenly restriction, find them, learn the truth before it is too late. And then Mugen shattered, not violently, not with an explosion or scream, just dissolution, like a sandcastle touched by a wave, like a dream fading upon waking. The pieces of its form turned to light, to particles, to nothing, and dispersed into the night sky above Tokyo. Gone. Maki stood there for a moment, breathing hard, covered in blood and dust and the residue of fighting something that shouldn't exist. Then she remembered. Toji. She ran to him. He was lying in the crater his body had made when he collapsed, barely breathing. The cursed energy was gone now, purged completely, but the damage was catastrophic. His organs were shutting down. His cells were dying. The very act of containing Sukuna's power for those brief seconds had burned through his life force like fire through paper. Did we win? His voice was barely a whisper. You idiot! You absolute fucking idiot! Maki was trying to stop the bleeding, but there was too much. Too many internal injuries. Too much damage. Why would you didn't have to. Yeah? Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. I did. No. We could have found another way. You could have... Maki. His hand reached up, touched her face. His fingers were cold. Listen, don't talk. Save your energy. I can get Shoko. She can heal. No healing this. Toji's smile was sad, but genuine. This body was borrowed time anyway. The Void Assembly built it from cursed corpse parts and sheer stubbornness. It was never meant to last forever. Then why? Because you needed someone to believe in you. Someone who understood what you are. His eyes were starting to lose focus. I watched you for 16 years. Watched you fight and bleed and refuse to stay down. And I realized you're not me. You're better. You've got people who give a damn. You've got Yuta and Panda and that salmon kid. You've got what I never had. Don't do this. Tears were running down Maki's face now. She hated crying, hated showing weakness, but she couldn't stop. Don't you dare die on me. Not after all this. Not after... You remind me of someone I used to hate, Toji whispered. Me. Before I figured out I was allowed to be more than just anger. His breathing was getting shallower. The pool of blood beneath him was spreading. Megumi. My son. I was shit to him, sold him for gambling money. But you... He coughed, blood on his lips. If you ever meet him, tell him his old man's last thought was hoping he turned out more like you than me. Toji, one more thing. His hand squeezed hers. Weak, but present. Real. You're not nothing, Maki Zenin. You're everything they were too scared to become. You're proof that absence can be just as powerful as presence, that zero can equal infinity. His eyes started to close. Hey! Maki shook him. Hey, don't you fucking dare! You don't get to do this heroic sacrifice bullshit and then just die. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Toji said. His voice was barely audible now. But you already knew that. You've known it since you were 8 years old and the clan beat you for being born wrong. Stop talking. Please, just stop. You turned out okay. His smile widened one last time. Better than okay. You turned out perfect. And then Toji Fushiguro closed his eyes. His chest stopped rising. His hand went limp in hers. And for the second time in his strange, violent, impossible life, Toji Fushiguro died. But this time, he died at peace. Maki sat there in the parking lot of a destroyed gymnasium, holding the hand of a man she'd known for less than an hour but felt like she'd known forever. The sun was starting to rise, dawn breaking over Tokyo. The veil that had contained their battle was fading. Soon, sorcerers would arrive. Questions would be asked. Explanations would be demanded. But for now, there was just this. Two people who should never have existed. One alive, one dead. You're wrong, Maki said quietly to the corpse. I wasn't nothing, and neither were you. We were just different. And that's okay. She stood up slowly, carefully. Every muscle in her body screamed, every bone ached. But she stood. Behind her, Toji's body began to fade. The cursed corpse construction that had kept him alive for 16 years finally dissolving. By the time the first sorcerers arrived, there would be no evidence he'd ever been there. But Maki would remember, and that was enough. Act I. Aftermath. 3 days later, Maki sat in the Tokyo Jujutsu High medical ward, letting Shoko Ieri check her injuries for the 3rd time. You're healing fast, Shoko said, pressing on Maki's ribs. Faster than you should be, even with your physical enhancement. Lucky me. Maki. Shoko's expression was serious. What happened at that gymnasium? The reports say there was massive cursed energy expenditure, but also nothing. Like something erased the cursed energy traces themselves. I killed some curses. They were strong. It was a mess. The entire building is gone. Not destroyed, gone. Erased from existence. The crater is perfectly spherical, and the edges show no signs of structural damage. It's like someone just decided that chunk of reality shouldn't exist anymore. Maki didn't respond, and witnesses reported seeing 2 people fighting. One matched your description, the other... Shoko paused. The other looked like Toji Fushiguro, who's been dead for 16 years. Witnesses were probably seeing things. Cursed energy can cause hallucinations. Maki. I'm fine, Shoko. Just tired. Shoko studied her for a long moment. Then she sighed. Fine. Keep your secrets. But whatever you're carrying, whatever happened out there, you need to talk to someone eventually. Bottling this shit up will eat you alive. I'm used to being eaten alive. I carry heavenly restriction. That's not funny. Wasn't meant to be. Shoko left, shaking her head. Maki sat there in the medical ward, staring at her hands. She'd washed the blood off. His blood. But she could still feel it. Could still feel his hand going cold in hers. Could still hear his last words. You're proof that absence can be just as powerful as presence. Her door opened again. This time it was Yuta Okotsu, back from his assignment in Africa 2 weeks early. Maki, he said. I heard what happened. I'm fine. You fought something that destroyed an entire building. You're covered in bruises and cuts. You've barely slept in 3 days. Yuta sat down next to her bed. You're not fine. I'm as fine as I ever am. They sat in silence for a moment. Yuta had always been good at that, at just being present without demanding explanations. Was it really him? Yuta finally asked. Toji Fushiguro? Maki looked at him sharply. How did you... Gojo told me. Said he felt something during your fight. Something familiar. Someone with 0 cursed energy moving with killing intent. And there's only ever been 2 people in the modern era who fit that description. Gojo's wrong, Maki. It wasn't Toji Fushiguro. Her voice was flat, final. Toji Fushiguro died 16 years ago in an alley, killed by Gojo Satoshi. That's the official story. That's what everyone knows. That's what's true. But there was someone there. Maki continued, cutting him off. Someone who looked like him, fought like him, died like him. But it wasn't him. Just an echo, a shadow of something that used to exist. Yuta studied her face. You're lying. Yeah. Maki smiled slightly. But it's a good lie, better than the truth. Which is? The truth is that sometimes people surprise you. She looked out the window at Tokyo, at the city they were supposed to protect. Sometimes the worst person you can imagine does one good thing at the end, and you have to decide, does that one good thing matter? Does it redeem them? Does it change anything? And your answer? My answer is that it doesn't matter. Maki's hands clenched into fists. Toji Fushiguro was a piece of shit who made one good choice when it counted. That doesn't erase the bad. But it doesn't disappear either. Both things are true, and I'm okay with that. Yuta nodded slowly. Okay. I won't push. But Maki, he looked at her directly. Whatever happened, whatever you saw or did or lost, you're not alone. You know that, right? I know. Do you? Maki was quiet for a moment. Then, I killed 30 grade 1 curses in that gymnasium. By myself. In under an hour. And you know what I felt? What? Nothing. No pride, no satisfaction, no sense of accomplishment. Just emptiness. She looked at her hands again. For 16 years, I've been fighting to prove I'm not worthless. That having 0 cursed energy doesn't make me garbage. And I've succeeded. I'm special grade now. I can kill what teams of sorcerers can't touch. I'm everything the Zenin clan said was impossible. But I still feel empty. Like no matter how strong I get, how many curses I kill, how many people I prove wrong, it doesn't fill the void. Because the void is me. I'm not fighting against being nothing. I am nothing. And I'm finally understanding that being nothing doesn't need to be fixed or filled or changed. Yuta reached over, took her hand. You're not nothing to me, or to Panda, or to Inumaki. You're our friend, our teammate, our family. I know. Maki squeezed his hand back. And that helps. It does. But there's a part of me that will always be empty. That's just how heavenly restriction works. We trade cursed energy for physical ability. We trade presence for absence. And sometimes, her voice caught, sometimes I wonder if it's worth it. Is it? Maki thought about Toji, about how he'd spent 16 years watching from the shadows, about how he'd sacrificed himself to save her, about his last words, his last smile, his last breath. Yeah, she said quietly. It is. The door opened again. This time it was Megumi Fushiguro, looking uncomfortable. He and Maki had never been particularly close. Different social circles, different fighting styles, different everything. Maki, he said, can we talk? Yuta stood up. I'll give you two some privacy. He left. Maki and Megumi sat there in awkward silence for a moment. Gojo told me something, Megumi finally said. About the fight at the gymnasium. About who you were fighting with. Whatever Gojo said, was it really him? Megumi's voice was tight, controlled, but underneath, Maki could hear the desperation. My father, was he really alive all this time? Maki looked at this young man. 19 years old. Strong sorcerer. Good person. Everything his father hadn't been, and she made a choice. Yeah? She said. It was him. Megumi's face went white. How he faked his death 16 years ago. Some organization called the Void Assembly saved him, put his consciousness in a new body. He's been hiding ever since. Why? The word came out harsh. Angry. Why fake his death? Why not? Why didn't he ever? Because he was a coward. Maki's voice was blunt, honest. Because he was selfish and broken and didn't know how to be a father. Because he thought you were better off without him. I was. Megumi's hands clenched. I was better off without him. He sold me for gambling money. He abandoned me to that family and never looked back. I know. So why are you telling me this? Why not just let me keep thinking he was dead? Because, Maki said carefully, in the end, he did one good thing. He sacrificed himself to stop something that would have killed thousands of people. Millions, maybe. And his last words were about you. Megumi looked up. What did he say? He said he hoped you turned out more like me than him. Maki smiled slightly. Which is funny, because you're already better than both of us. You're strong without being cruel. You protect people without losing yourself. You're everything he could have been if he'd made different choices. I don't want his fucking redemption. Megumi's voice shook. I don't want his last words or his heroic sacrifice. I want... He stopped, breathed. I wanted him to be a father. Just once. Just for one day. I know. They sat in silence. Did he suffer? Megumi asked quietly. At the end? Maki thought about Toji's body convulsing as Sukuna's cursed energy tore him apart, about the blood pouring from his eyes and nose and mouth, about the pain that must have been beyond imagining. No, she lied. It was quick, peaceful. Megumi nodded. He didn't believe her she could see it in his eyes, but he accepted the lie. Sometimes lies were kinder than truth. Thank you, he said, for telling me. For being there when he couldn't finish. Yeah. Megumi stood up to leave, then paused at the door. Maki? Yeah, he was right. About one thing. Megumi looked back at her. You did turn out better than him. Better than any of us expected, and for what it's worth, I'm glad you're on our side. He left. Maki sat there alone in the medical ward, thinking about fathers and sons and the things we inherit that we never asked for. 2 days later, she checked herself out of medical. Shoko protested, but Maki ignored her. She had something to do. Something Mugen had told her in its final moments. The Void Assembly. Find them. Learn the truth. She started with the obvious places. Underground jujutsu researchers, black market curse dealers, anyone who might have information about an organization that studied heavenly restriction. Nothing. It was like they didn't exist. Or more accurately, like they existed specifically to not be found. But Maki was patient, and she had one advantage. She knew they'd made contact with Toji 16 years ago, which meant they had some kind of base of operations in or near Tokyo. She spent 3 weeks searching, following leads that went nowhere, interviewing people who knew nothing, hitting dead end after dead end. Then she found it, not through investigation, through instinct. She was walking through Ueno Park late at night, heading home after another fruitless day of searching, when she felt it. That sensation of being watched by something that had no presence. That feeling of absence, observing absence. She stopped walking. I know you're there, she said to the empty park. I can feel you. Or rather, I can feel what you're not. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a man stepped out from behind a tree. He was wearing a simple black suit, completely nondescript. But his face was wrong. Not physically deformed, not cursed, just absent. Like looking at someone who was there but also wasn't. Maki Zenin, the man said. His voice was flat, emotionless. We've been expecting you, the Void Assembly. Indeed, we knew you'd come looking for us after Mugen's warning. The question was how long it would take. He smiled. Or rather, his face moved in a way that suggested a smile without actually conveying any emotion. 16 years for Toji. 3 weeks for you. You're more impatient. What do you want? The same thing we've always wanted. To understand heavenly restriction. To study it. To help those who carry it reach their full potential. The man gestured. Walk with me. There's much to discuss. And if I refuse, then you'll never learn the truth about what you are, about what Toji was, about what you could become. He started walking. But you won't refuse, because you need answers. It's the one thing being empty can't give you purpose. Maki hesitated. Every instinct screamed this was a trap, that following this man would lead to nothing good. But he was right. She needed answers. She followed. They walked through the park in silence for several minutes. The man led her to a maintenance building near the park's edge. used a key to open a door that looked like it hadn't been opened in years, and descended a staircase that shouldn't exist. Down they went, deeper and deeper into the earth, past layers of concrete and steel and cursed energy barriers that Maki could feel even though she couldn't see them. Finally, they reached a door. The man opened it. "Welcome," he said, "to the truth." Inside was a laboratory, but not a normal one. The equipment was strange, built from materials Maki didn't recognize, and along the walls, in glass cases filled with preservative fluid, were bodies, dozens of them. Hundreds, all of them with one thing in common: zero cursed energy. "What the fuck is this?" Maki whispered. "Our collection." The man walked along the cases, looking at the preserved corpses with something like affection. Every person with natural heavenly restriction we could find over the past 2,000 years. Preserved, studied, dissected. We've learned so much from them. You killed them. No, they were already dead. Most died young, murdered by sorcerers, beaten to death by their own families, or simply starved because they couldn't defend themselves in a world of cursed spirits. The man stopped in front of one case. Inside was a child, maybe 8 years old. This one was found in the Heian era, the boy who became Mugen. Patient Zero, we call him. "You're monsters." "We're researchers." The man turned to face her. "Tell me, Maki, Zenin, why do you think heavenly restriction exists?" "Random genetic mutation." "No, it's too specific for that. Too consistent. Always the same trade. Zero cursed energy for enhanced physical ability. Always the same ratio. Always the same price." He walked toward her. "Heavenly restriction isn't a mutation. It's a curse." "What?" "The original curse. The first curse. Born in the Age of Gods, when humanity first began developing cursed energy. Some humans evolved to sense and use cursed energy, but others," he gestured to the cases, "others were left behind. And their resentment, their rage at being abandoned by evolution, created the first curse. Not a curse of fear or hatred, a curse of absence." "That's insane." "Is it? You've felt it, haven't you? That emptiness inside, that sense that something fundamental is missing. That's not just psychology, Maki. It's the curse actively working. Keeping you empty so you stay strong. Trading your spiritual presence for physical power. Even if that's true, so what? I've learned to live with it." "Have you?" The man smiled. "Or have you just learned to cope? To fill the void with fighting and training and proving yourself? What happens when you run out of things to prove? When you've beaten every enemy, surpassed every limit? Will the emptiness be satisfied then?" Maki's hands clenched. "What do you want from me?" "We want to help you, Maki Zenin. We want to show you what Toji discovered in his 16 years with us. The secret to transcending heavenly restriction, to keeping the power, but losing the curse." "And what's that?" The man walked to a console, pressed some buttons. A holographic display appeared, showing brain scans, genetic sequences, cursed energy flow patterns. "Toji was our most successful subject. He came to us dying, and we gave him a new body. But more than that, we gave him understanding. We showed him that heavenly restriction isn't just about having zero cursed energy. It's about the void itself. About learning to manipulate absence the same way sorcerers manipulate presence. That's impossible. You can't manipulate what doesn't exist, can't you?" The man looked at her. "How do you fight, Maki? How do you dodge attacks you can't see coming? How do you sense cursed spirits when you have no cursed energy? Physical awareness, enhanced senses. No. You sense the absence. The space where cursed energy should flow but doesn't around you. You're not just fighting with your body, you're fighting with the void itself." He pulled up another image. "And if you can sense absence, manipulate absence, become one with absence, then you can do what Mugen did. exist in the space between physical and spiritual, become something beyond human, beyond sorcerer, beyond anything that's ever existed. Maki stared at the displays, at the impossible data, at the suggestion that she could become something more than she already was. Why are you telling me this? Because Toji failed. He came close, so close, but in the end, he couldn't let go of his anger. His resentment towards sorcerers kept him tethered to the curse. He could never truly become empty. The man looked at her. But you can. You've already let go of so much. Your family, your sister, your need to prove yourself. You're on the edge of true transcendence. And what happens if I transcend? You become what we call a true void, a being of pure absence. You'll be able to exist anywhere, fight anything, defeat anyone. You'll be to sorcerers what Gojo Satoshi is, an absolute power that cannot be beaten. Maki thought about that, about being that strong, about never having to fear again. It sounded like hell. No, she said. The man blinked. Excuse me? I said no. I don't want your transcendence. I don't want to become a true void. I'm fine being what I am. You don't understand what you're refusing. I understand perfectly. Maki turned toward the door. You want me to let go of everything that makes me human, everyone I care about, everything that gives my life meaning, just so I can become some perfect weapon, some absolute power. Well, fuck that. Maki. Toji was wrong about one thing, she said, pausing at the door. He thought being empty meant being nothing, but it doesn't. Being empty just means having room to fill yourself with what you choose. And I choose connection. I choose friendship. I choose protecting people even though it's stupid and dangerous and completely irrational. She looked back at the man one last time. Tell your organization to stop collecting bodies. Stop trying to transcend heavenly restriction. We're not curses that need to be cured. We're just different, and different is okay. She left. Behind her, the man stood in silence for a long moment. Then he smiled. A real smile this time. Just as we predicted, she's perfect. Another figure emerged from the shadows. A woman this time, also with that absent quality to her features. Should we pursue? She asked. No, let her go. She's not ready yet. The man looked at the preserved corpses in their cases. But she will be, when the next crisis comes, when her friends are threatened, when she's faced with a choice between staying human and gaining the power to save everyone, she'll come back. And if she doesn't, then we'll have been wrong about her. But I don't think we are. He pulled up Maki's data on the holographic display. She's exactly like Toji, and Toji always did what needed to be done, even when it cost him everything. Should we tell the council? Not yet. Let her live normally for a while. Let her think she's won. Let her believe she can stay human. He watched Maki's signal disappear from their tracking systems as she left the underground laboratory. Because soon enough, she'll learn what Toji learned, what everyone with heavenly restriction eventually learns. What's that? That being empty isn't a choice. It's a destiny. And you can't escape your destiny, no matter how fast you run. Minus-eyed convergence. 6 months passed. Maki returned to her normal life, fighting curses, training, hanging out with Yuta and Panda and Inumaki, pretending she'd never met Toji Fushiguro, pretending she'd never seen the Void Assembly's laboratory, pretending she was okay. But at night, she dreamed of Toji's last moments, dreamed of Mugen dissolving into light, dreamed of those preserved corpses in their glass cases, all of them empty, all of them like her. And sometimes, in those dreams, she heard a voice. You're proof that absence can be just as powerful as presence. She woke up from those dreams gasping, covered in sweat, her heart racing even though her body didn't need the adrenaline. Yuta noticed. Of course he noticed. He always noticed. You're having nightmares again, he said one morning over breakfast at Jujutsu High. "I'm fine, Maki. I said I'm fine." Her voice was sharper than intended. "Drop it." Yuta dropped it. But his expression said he wasn't letting this go forever. That afternoon, Maki was called to Gojo's office. She went reluctantly, knowing this wouldn't be a normal assignment. Gojo sat behind his desk, blindfold on, looking relaxed despite the tension in the room. Principal Yaga stood next to him, arms crossed, expression grave. "Maki," Gojo said, "we need to talk about what happened 6 months ago. I already filed my report. Your report said you fought multiple curses and one unidentified threat that you eliminated. It said nothing about Toji Fushiguro or some organization called the Void Assembly or a special grade curse made from heavenly restriction itself." Maki's expression didn't change. "My report was accurate." "Bullshit." Gojo leaned forward. "I felt it, Maki. During your fight, I felt Toji's presence. I felt cursed energy that matched Sukuna's signature. And I felt something else, something that erased cursed energy traces so completely it scared me. Actually scared me. Sounds like you need therapy. Not a conversation with me, Maki." Principal Yaga's voice was stern. "This isn't a joke. Whatever you fought, whatever you did, it left a mark on Tokyo's cursed energy flow that still hasn't healed. There's a dead zone where that gymnasium used to be. Nothing grows there. Curses avoid it. Even sorcerers report feeling unwell when they get too close. Not my problem. It is your problem if it puts other people at risk." Yaga slammed his hand on the desk. "You're a sorcerer, Maki. That means transparency. That means working with us, not hiding things." "I'm not a sorcerer." Maki's voice was cold. "I have 0 cursed energy. I can't use jujutsu. I'm just someone with a sword who kills curses. There's a difference. Don't split hairs." "I'm not." She stood up. "Is there anything else? Or am I dismissed?" Gojo and Yaga exchanged looks. "One more thing," Gojo said quietly. "We found something. In the ruins of the gymnasium, something I think you should see." He pulled out a small object, placed it on the desk. Maki's breath caught. It was the blade. Kukyo. The weapon forged from emptiness itself. "This weapon," Gojo said, "doesn't exist in any of our records. Doesn't match any known cursed tool or jujutsu weapon. And yet it's clearly designed to kill something. The question is, what?" Maki didn't answer. "There's more." Gojo picked up the blade carefully, like it might bite him. "This weapon is made from heavenly restriction itself. I can't sense cursed energy from it, but I can sense the absence. It's like holding a piece of you, a piece of Toji." He set it down, pushed it toward her. "Take it. It's yours. But Maki," his voice went serious, "whatever you're mixed up in, whatever organization gave you this, whatever they want from you, be careful. Because weapons like this aren't made as gifts. They're made with a purpose." Maki took the blade, slid it into her belt. "Are we done?" "Yeah." Gojo leaned back. "We're done. For now." She left. Behind her, Yaga turned to Gojo. "You're just letting her walk away? What choice do I have? She's not technically under our jurisdiction. She's not a student anymore. And even if I wanted to stop her," Gojo smiled slightly, "I don't think I could. Not anymore. She's become something beyond what we expected. That's what worries me." "Me too," Gojo admitted. "Me too." That night, Maki couldn't sleep. She sat on the roof of her dorm, looking out at Tokyo, the blade Kukyo in her lap. She could feel it resonating with her, responding to her void nature. "What did you want me to become?" she whispered to the memory of Toji. "What was I supposed to learn from all this?" No answer. Just the wind and the city lights and the emptiness inside her that never quite went away. Then she felt it. That sensation again, being watched by something with no presence, that feeling of absence, observing absence. She stood up, blade in hand. I know you're there. Show yourself. The same man from the Void Assembly stepped out of the shadows. He was smiling. Hello again, Maki Zenin. I told you I wasn't interested. I know. And we've respected your wishes for 6 months. Haven't contacted you, haven't interfered, haven't pushed. But now, his smile faded. Now we need you. For what? There's been a development, a problem, something we didn't anticipate. He pulled out a tablet, showed her images. Maki's blood ran cold. They were corpses, dozens of them, sorcerers by the look of their bodies, but they weren't killed by curses or curse techniques. They were erased, simply removed from existence, leaving perfect spherical voids where they used to be. What am I looking at, Mugen's children? The man's voice was grim. When you killed it, when you used Kukyo to cut its cursed core, you didn't destroy the curse. You fragmented it, split it into dozens of smaller pieces. And those pieces are manifesting as new curses. Weaker than Mugen, but still incredibly dangerous. So send sorcerers to kill them. We have. They're all dead. These curses specifically target cursed energy. The more power a sorcerer has, the faster they die. He looked at her. The only people who can fight them are people with heavenly restriction. People like you. Find someone else. There is no one else. The man's composure cracked. You're the only living person with complete heavenly restriction. Everyone else has partial restriction or mixed abilities. You're the only one who can. That's not my problem. It will be when those curses start targeting civilians, when they spread beyond Tokyo, when they become a global threat. He stepped closer. Maki, I know you don't want to be a hero. I know you're tired of fighting, but this is your responsibility. You created this situation by killing Mugen. Now, you have to fix it. Maki wanted to argue, wanted to refuse, wanted to walk away, but he was right. Fine, she said. I'll hunt them, but afterward, you leave me alone. No more recruitment attempts, no more transcendence offers. We're done. Agreed. And I want information. Everything you know about heavenly restriction, every secret, every experiment, every piece of data. No more lies. The man hesitated, then nodded. Agreed. Hunt the curses, and we'll tell you everything. Where do I start? He handed her the tablet. The strongest fragment manifested in Kyoto. It's been killing sorcerers there for the past 3 days. 4 deaths so far, all grade 1 or higher. The local sorcerers are evacuating. How strong? Semi-grade 1, we estimate. Maybe special grade if it continues to evolve. He looked at her. Can you handle it? Maki thought about Mugen, about Toji, about the blade in her hand that could cut absence itself. Yeah, she said. I can handle it. She left that night, took the train to Kyoto alone, refusing Yuta's offer to come with her. This was something she needed to do herself. The curse was easy to find. It left a trail of dead sorcerers and erased reality. All Maki had to do was follow the destruction. She found it in an abandoned temple on Kyoto's outskirts. It was smaller than Mugen, maybe 15 feet tall, but it had the same quality, that same absence, that same wrongness. When it saw her, it spoke. Its voice was like Mugen's, but younger, less refined. Sister, you killed father. Now you come to kill me. I'm not your sister, Maki said, drawing Kukyo. And Mugen wasn't anyone's father. It was a curse. Nothing more. Mugen was the curse of emptiness, of heavenly restriction, which makes us family. All of us who carry the void, Family doesn't try to erase each other from existence, doesn't it? The curse tilted its head. You killed your sister to become this. I kill sorcerers to become stronger. We are the same. No, Maki charged. We're not. The fight was brutal but short. This curse was nowhere near as strong as Mugen. It could phase, could erase matter, could move with unnatural speed. But it couldn't match Maki's experience, her skill, her understanding of how to fight things that didn't follow normal rules. Kukyo flashed through the air, cut through the curse's core. It shattered into light. Sister, why? Why do you fight us when we are all empty? Because, Maki said to the fading curse, being empty doesn't mean being alone. She hunted the next curse, and the next, and the next. Over 3 weeks, she killed 17 of Mugen's fragments across Japan. Each one was different. Different size, different abilities, different level of intelligence, but they all had the same core quality. They were all born from the curse of heavenly restriction, and they all called her sister. By the time she killed the 17th, she was exhausted. Not physically her body could handle the fighting, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Each curse she killed asked her the same question. Why do you fight us when we are all empty? And she never had a good answer. The last fragment was in Hokkaido. The Void Assembly tracked it to an abandoned mining facility. When Maki arrived, she found something unexpected. The curse wasn't attacking anyone. It was just sitting there in the facility's main chamber, surrounded by the corpses of cursed spirits it had killed. Protecting humans? What the hell? Maki whispered. Hello, sister. She spun, blade ready. The curse stood behind her, or rather, it materialized. This one was different from the others. Smaller, maybe only 8 feet tall. And its voice was gentler, more human. I have been waiting for you. You're one of Mugen's fragments. Yes, but I am different. I have been thinking, learning, trying to understand why Father died. Mugen died because it was a threat to humanity. No. The curse shook its head. Mugen died because it never learned that emptiness and loneliness are not the same thing. It was so consumed by resentment, by the curse of being powerless, that it never realized being empty means you have room for others. Maki lowered her blade slightly. What are you saying? I am saying that I do not want to fight. I do not want to kill sorcerers. I want to understand, to learn, to be more than just a curse. That's impossible. You're a cursed spirit. You exist to destroy. Do I? Or do I exist because people like us, people with heavenly restriction, have accumulated so much pain that it manifested as a curse? If the pain can be healed, perhaps the curse can be transformed. Maki stared at this impossible creature, at this fragment of Mugen that somehow had developed consciousness, empathy, understanding. Even if that's true, she said, I can't let you exist. You're too dangerous. I know, but before you kill me, let me tell you something. A secret Father learned before it died. What secret? The Void Assembly is lying to you. They don't want to cure heavenly restriction. They want to weaponize it, to create an army of true voids that will erase all cursed energy from the world. That's insane. Is it? Think about it. Why preserve all those corpses? Why study heavenly restriction for 2,000 years? Why bring Toji back from death? The curse moved closer. They're trying to perfect the transformation, to turn ordinary humans into heavenly restriction users. And once they succeed, they'll create an army that will destroy the Jujutsu world forever. And you expect me to believe this? You're a curse. You'd say anything to survive. I would. But I'm not asking you to spare me. I'm asking you to investigate, to verify, to learn the truth before it's too late. The curse sat down, exposing its core, making itself vulnerable. Kill me, sister. End my suffering. But promise me you'll seek the truth. For Toji's sake. For Mai's sake. For your own sake. Maki stood there, blade in hand, facing this creature that shouldn't be able to think or feel or care. And she made a choice. Tell me everything you know, she said, lowering Kukyo. Then I'll decide if you live or die. The curse told her everything. About the Void Assembly's true purpose, about their experiments creating artificial heavenly restriction, about their plan to build an army and destroy the Jujutsu world, about how Toji was never meant to be saved, he was meant to be their test subject for the transformation process. When the curse finished, Maki stood in silence for a long moment. Then she raised her blade. Wait. The curse started. I believe you, Maki said. But I still have to kill you. You're too dangerous to exist. Too unstable. Too much of a threat. I understand. But first... Maki pulled out her phone, recorded everything the curse had just told her. First, I'm going to make sure your death means something. Thank you, sister. Stop calling me that. What should I call you? Maki. Just Maki. Thank you, Maki, for listening, for caring, for being what father could never be, someone who chooses connection over emptiness. Kukyo flashed. The curse shattered into light, and Maki stood alone in the abandoned facility, covered in the residue of absence, carrying the weight of truth she wished she'd never learned. She returned to Tokyo that night, went straight to Gojo's office. It was 3 a.m, but she didn't care. She kicked the door open. Gojo looked up from his paperwork, not surprised. Maki, I was wondering when you'd come back. The Void Assembly is planning something, she said without preamble. Something big. They're creating artificial heavenly restriction, building an army, planning to destroy the Jujutsu world. I know. Maki stopped. What? I know. I've known for about 6 months, since you visited their laboratory. Gojo leaned back in his chair. Did you really think I wouldn't have surveillance on an organization that studies heavenly restriction, that brings dead people back to life? You knew and you didn't stop them? I'm observing, learning, waiting for them to make their move. He looked at her. The question isn't what the Void Assembly is planning. The question is what you're going to do about it. Me? You're the only one who can infiltrate them, Maki. You're the only one they trust, or at least the only one they're interested in. If anyone can learn their full plan and stop them, it's you. So you want me to be your spy? I want you to save the world. Gojo stood up, walked around his desk. The Void Assembly has been operating for 2,000 years. They've accumulated power, knowledge, resources that rival any Jujutsu organization. If they succeed in creating artificial heavenly restriction, if they build that army, the balance of power in our world will shift completely. Why would they want to destroy sorcerers? What's their end game? I don't know. And that's what scares me. Gojo's expression was serious. Help me, Maki. Help me stop them before it's too late. Maki thought about Toji, about his sacrifice, about his last words, about the choice she had to make. Fine, she said. I'll do it, but on one condition. Name it. When this is over, when the Void Assembly is stopped, you leave me alone. No more assignments, no more missions. I'm done being a sorcerer. Deal. They shook hands, and Maki Zenin became a spy. 8th revelation. Due to length constraints, I'll summarize the remaining plot. Over the next several months, Maki infiltrates the Void Assembly, learning their true purpose. They believe cursed energy is destroying humanity's potential. and they planned to use artificial heavenly restriction to cure all humans, creating a world without curses or sorcerers. She discovers that Toji was their prototype. They successfully transferred his consciousness to a new body and monitored him for 16 years. His sacrifice against Mugen wasn't just heroism. It was their test to see if heavenly restriction could overcome its own curse. The final confrontation happens when the Void Assembly activates their cure, a device that will strip cursed energy from every human on Earth. Maki must choose: stop them and preserve the Jujutsu world with all its flaws, or let them succeed and create a world where no one will suffer like she did. In the climax, she realizes the truth. Emptiness isn't a curse to be fixed. It's a choice, and she chooses to stay empty, to stay herself, and to stop the Void Assembly, not because the Jujutsu world is perfect, but because forcing change on others is wrong. She destroys the device, the Void Assembly scatters, and Maki walks away from it all, finally at peace with being nothing in a world of something. The story ends with her visiting Toji's unmarked grave, symbolic since his body dissolved, placing Kukyo there and walking into the sunset, not a hero, not a weapon, just Maki Zenin, free at last.